so for our practice problems today, we want to do these problems, okay? What they're asking us to do is to take number 5 and number 7 and graph them. And then we look at specific points and tell what they represent. Okay, so I actually want to do these on the bottom first, and then we're going to graph. Okay, so first look at number 5. Look at that table. What's the title? Everybody, what's the title for number 5? Grass growth, absolutely. Okay, so what is the x-axis? The week. And what's the y-axis? Height in inches. Okay, all right. So down here in number 6, they're asking us to look at this point right here, 3, 5. And what they want to know is, what does that ordered pair represent? Okay, well, what you need to do in order to look at that is you need to look at your labels that you just told me. Okay, so the 3 is in the x-axis, which is weeks, correct? So 3, 5 means that at week 3, how high is the grass? Anybody, everybody. Week 3, how high is the grass?
3. 3, 5.
Okay, guys, look. I'm at week 3. How high is the grass? 5 inches. So at week 3, the grass is 5 inches. That's all that means. Okay? A lot of times 5th graders make that kind of a question really difficult, and it's really not difficult. You look at the numbers and you look at the labels. Okay? So let's look at number 7. What's the title for number 7? Everybody?
Food scraps eaten in worm compost.
Okay, food scraps eaten in worm compost. Okay, what's my X? Days. And what's my Y? Amount in pounds. Okay, so they want to know about 2, 3 this time. So think about that. What is the 2 representing? Okay, so on day 2, what happens on day 2?
On day 2, food.
What's the number with day 2? What's the y-axis?
3.
3 what? On day 2, 3 what? 3 pounds are what? Look at your title.
Food scraps eaten in weather
are eaten, right? Okay, so that's what 2, 3 means. That on day 2, 3 pounds are eaten. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Because you're going to see that on some questions later. Okay, so again, just go back to your labels and what do the labels mean? Okay, it doesn't have to be complicated. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take numbers 5 and number 7 and we're going to graph them. So since we have not used the whiteboard before for graphing, this is what we're going to do. I am going to show you how, like we're all working together right now. I'm going to be the only one writing and you're just watching on the board, okay, for number 5. Number 7, I'm going to have you guys come into the whiteboard and you are going to do it, okay? So make sure you're paying attention to what I'm doing on number 5. All right, so I already have my data table right here. And I know that's really small, but it's the same thing we just looked at. Okay, so it's the grass growth. So I'm going to draw myself a table. Okay, I know this is my X, and I know this is my Y. Okay, what I always want to do is I want to label. If I have a title, which right here is the title, right? I'm going to label it grass growth. Okay? I know that this is my X. Okay, the first column is my X, so that's weeks. And I know my second column is my Y, and that for this one is height. Okay, and they are telling me that it's height in inches. Okay, so I labeled, and now that I labeled, now I'm going to, before I graph, I need to tell what each square is worth. Okay, so looking at our data table over here, what do you think I should label my intervals? Meaning, what is each of these squares going to be? Do I want to go by ones, by fives, by halves, by tens, by 20s, by hundreds? What should I go by? What do you think?
Ones.
Yeah, I'd probably just go by ones. Okay, which means that this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, and then the same thing over here. Sometimes my intervals on the X and Y axis might be different depending on my numbers, but these are really small numbers over here. Okay, so the last step is to graph them. Okay, so remember, this right here is the same thing as what we did yesterday. That's my ordered pair, right? So now I graph 0, 2. So I start at my origin, and because my X is 0, I do not go over at all. I do go up 2, and that's my first ordered pair. My next ordered pair is 1, 3. So I go over 1, up 3. Then I have 2, 4. Over 2, up 4. Can you start to see the line? Yeah. And then the last one is 3, 5. Over 3, up 5. And then I can connect them. And that is my graph. Okay? And remember, this is x plus 2 equals y, or I can say 2 plus x equals y, or I can flip it around and say y equals x plus 2, or even y equals 2 plus x. Okay? So all of these equations are exactly the same graph. Are there any questions on that? Okay, so I'm going to clear this out. Okay, I want you to take everything, please. Clear it out. And let me get the grid back, big grid. And I need to get number 7. Okay, and I will help you out. I will draw this part for you. Okay, here's your X, here's your Y. All right, so I'm going to invite you. This one. And let me get over to the chat. So I'm putting this link in the chat right now. Go ahead and click on that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing, okay? Because now you need to click on that whiteboard and you're going to graph that number 7, okay? I can see your whiteboard, but nobody else can, okay? So only you and I can see your whiteboard. So I'm going to give you, let's say, about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to check in on whiteboards and see how you're doing. Okay? So let's see. I see Rita, Antoine, Brandon, Jalen, Stephanie, Anthony, Julissa, and David are in. I see Isaac is in. If I did not just call your name, you are not in yet and you need to get in. It's in the chat. I do not have Lyric, Rakaya, Roger, or Deontay in the whiteboard yet. I see some people are starting. Don't forget your labels. Okay, label your X and Y axis and your title. Roger, Rakaya, and Deontay, you need to get into the whiteboard. You need to click on the link in the chat. I see a couple of you are looking pretty good in there. Brandon's got a pretty good start. So does Rita. Ooh, Stephanie has her title. She's one of the only ones that I see that has the title for the whole graph. David, you need some labels in there. Okay, Anthony, your graphing looks great, but don't forget your labels. Isaac's looking pretty good. Jada and Israel have a good start. I don't see anything on Kamari or, well, Elijah, I'm not sure what you're trying to do there, but I don't see anything on Kamari or Rakaya's. Julissa, do you have a question?
How do I erase something?
Over off to the side, there should be an eraser. It's like the third one up from the bottom.
Okay, I found it.
Okay, Jalen, I don't see anything on yours. Alright guys, the timer is going off. I want you very quickly to put in the chat how many more minutes you think you need to finish this. Okay? So just putting in a number of how many minutes you think you need to finish this in the chat. All right. I see most people that replied are saying 5. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 more minutes. Okay, just a reminder, you want to look for your title of the graph. You want to look for your X and Y axis labels. Okay, and of course have your intervals. You're not getting 10 minutes, Jalen. You haven't even started, barely started. Antoine, go in and put your numbers on your x-axis, and then you need labels. So Brandon, now you need to put your dots, put your ordered pairs in there. David, I don't understand these letters. Why do you have letters? Go erase that. And you don't have numbers on your x-axis, and you still don't have labels, even though I asked you to put the labels. Julissa, looking good so far. Anthony? Really? Oh, I need to see what that is. Ah, okay. Gotcha. All right, so Anthony, all I would say for yours looks really good. Just put a label in for the X and the Y axis. Isaac, looking good so far. Go ahead and start graphing your dots. Jada, that's a good start. Keep going. Israel, kind of the same thing as Anthony. You're doing great. Put your labels for the X and the Y axis. Kamari, I still don't see anything. You have done nothing at all. Elijah, I do not know what you are doing. What in the world? Okay, Kaya, that's a good start, but your numbers should go on the outside of the axes because you need to graph on the inside. Roger, you're still not following directions. You're not even in the whiteboard. All right, about 2 minutes and then we're going to move on.
What do you mean by labels?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What do you mean by labels?
Okay, so what is the X standing for this graph? What's that label?
Oh, day.
Yes, and then what's the Y label?
Pounds.
Yeah. Israel, do you have a question? Okay. Well, can you speak to me? I don't know why you're putting that in the chat.
I don't get it.
Okay, what don't you get? Let's see where yours is. I'm pretty sure yours was good. You just didn't have the labels yet. Yeah. Okay, so let me go into this. Okay, so I see that you have your title, right? You have the title of the whole thing. Okay, what I'm talking about is the X and the Y label. Okay, so the X-axis is days, right? Okay, so then that means that you need to label underneath the numbers on the X-axis, you need to put day. And then the same thing on the Y-axis. The Y-axis is amount in pounds, so you need to put that label in there.
So do I put day under X?
Yeah, well, I would put it underneath the, like, not under the actual X there, where you're putting it. I would put it underneath the numbers.
Oh.
But that's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal. We're just practicing, okay? All right, guys. So the timer is going off, so we are going to move on. I know that not everyone is done, and that's okay. So let me go ahead and I'm going to share with you, and I hope you're listening. I know you're just so excited about the whiteboard, okay? But I want to come over here, go away, to our quiz for today, okay? And we don't have a whole lot of time, so you're going to want to do this quickly today. Okay, you're not actually going to graph for any of these questions. There's only 4 questions. Okay, 2 of the questions will look like this. Israel, can you mute yourself, please? It will give you a table, and what you're doing, look for this question. So this question is asking what's going to go below the 9. So that means that you have to look and see which one goes below the 9. Okay? All right. So 2 of the questions are like that. And then the other 2 are multiple choice questions with a graph. Okay? So you're not actually graphing anything for this one. We were just practicing the graphing within the whiteboard. And we'll do that again tomorrow. Okay? And we'll do it some next week too. So I know a lot of you today was the first time you've been, working with the whiteboard, and you're like, oh man, I don't really know what I'm doing. It'll be a little bit easier on Monday. Okay? Which... let me remind you, some of you weren't here earlier.